Now, good morning, everybody. My name is NobleWolf, and welcome to my latest live stream. Today, we are going to be making these barrels right here to explode. Two of them are going to be exploding, and then this one's going to be rolling off, and it's going to be on fire. So we are going to be doing this until I'm finished, or close to finished. All I know is I've got just about 3 hours to do it, so I'll be on this for quite a while. And I guess I will start the soundtracks off with this song. Also, I will be following this guy's tutorial and another guy's tutorial. This guy's tutorial I'm going to follow first because it's much shorter, and it'll help me get the explosion effect of the barrels, of them breaking. So I hope everybody enjoys, and yeah, let us begin.
New scene, and I don't want to save that. Okay, so before we start, we just need to make sure that bullet or the bullet effect is enabled in Maya. So to do that, go to Windows here at the top.
Crap. Oh, goddamn commercials. I don't want to watch you!
Choose it, drag it, drop it, show it, change it, sell it.
And delete it. Alright, so.
Top, and then go to Settings and Preferences, and then go down to Plugin Manager, and then go down to Bullet.
Okay. So. Windows.
Manager, and then go down to Bullet Bundle and make sure that Loaded and Auto Load is selected, and then you can close that. And if it wasn't selected, you just need to restart Maya to enable Bullet. Okay, so first.
Alright, so I gotta restart Maya. That's the wrong one.
Floor, so I'm going to go to polygons, and I'm going to click on a normal plane, and I'm just going to size or scale that up, something like that should be.
Takes a minute for this to load up.
And then I'm going to bring in a sphere, so on the polygons, just click on the sphere.
Alright.
I'm going to move that up, and you don't really want to scale this. You want to go to your polysphere settings here on the side, and then you want to increase the radius. So I'm going to set the radius to about 4, and then I'm going to change my subdivisions to 40 and 40. Something like that should be fine. Okay, now before we can shatter this sphere, we need to delete its history. So with the sphere selected, I'm going to go to Edit, and then go to Delete by Type, and click on History. You need to do this before you apply the shatter effect. Now here on the side, usually this is on modeling, just change it to effects, so you get this effects panel or drop down here at the top, and then go to shatter, and then click on the little square next to that.
There we go.
Alright, so then we're going to go to solid shatter. I think usually it opens on surface shatter, so just make sure you click on solid shatter, and I want to break this into 200 pieces.
Alright, so I'm gonna have to break this into 200 pieces as well, or more, just to get it to look like this guy's video.
So just type in 200 here where it says shard count, and then I want to deselect triangulate surface. Usually by default it's selected, so just untick that, and next to original surface select delete. That will basically just delete the original sphere geometry, and it will only leave you with the shatter or the shattered pieces. Okay, so once you've done that, you can just click on create, and it takes a little while because obviously it's going to break it up.
Error occurred while running solid script factor. Results may be invalid, and if necessary, undo to. I think I broke it. Oh, there's bullet right there. Let's try a little bit smaller. Oh, come on, what's going on here? Shatter effect level, an error occurred while trying to shatter if necessary. Undo what? Undo previous... Oh. Undo to restore a previous situation. Okay, so I gotta get rid of something. I'm gonna get rid of the oil fire. Let's try this again. Delete by type. Delete history. Alright, now I just want that one. And I got the music on the loop, so... Oh, what the hell. And let's try 10. Let's see what happens. Something's happening here. Something's broke. So, I probably did something wrong here.
200 little pieces, so just give it a minute, and yeah, okay. For this, that will basically...
Alright, that's my first problem of the day. Let's see if I can solve this. It's refusing to shatter, so I'm going to try and find out what's going on. Oh, there's a limitation. There seems to be an issue here that everybody has. Let's see what happens with Shatter 0.5. Nothing. Nothing happens, so there's something wrong with my shatter. So I'm gonna reload this. Let's see if I can just shatter a standard polygon here. Oh, come on! There's seriously an issue here. It's, a standard polygon doesn't even break! Eric, I need to... Previous situation. Come on! I'm gonna delete the history of this one. Let's see what happens. Well, there we go. We got something now. Let's see if it goes bigger. Yeah, there's that error again. Okay, there we go. After this song, I'm gonna pick something else. Let's see. Yeah, that's running pretty hard right now. Holy crap. Okay. Well, at least I know it works now. There's a piece. I think I better end it now because it looks like it's about to crash. Okay. 200 pieces is way too much. I don't want rendering. Oh, I don't want to leave it. Let's just try 50 pieces. And there we go. We still got that same shit going on. Alright, let's read what this guy has to say. Yeah, these guys don't have a solution. Oh, come on. I want to shatter these barrels. That doesn't do shit. Ugh, I just want to blow up the barrel. Doesn't do anything. Let's see here. There's gotta be something.
Just delete the original sphere done outliner. So I'm gonna select the floor plane. So make sure this is on object mode. So select the floor, and then at the top here by bullet on the bullet tab.
All right, and you know what? I can't do the barrels right now because this is just ridiculous. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna blow up one primitive, so a primitive polygon. So it's gonna get rid of these barrels. It's not gonna work. It just refuses to work for me. So I'm just gonna try something different. Maybe I can shatter this. Retry. Something's happening. Okay, I can shatter that, and I can turn that into a barrel really easily. All right, let's undo that. So let's turn this into a barrel. There we go.
I'm going to click on this button, which is create a passive rigid body object. And as you can see,
All right, let's apply the shatter effects here to these two objects. Let's see, let's make it a little bit more.
you can see the little cracks in the geometry. And
There we
if you
go.
don't have your outliner open, just click on this button here on the side to open the outliner so we can kind of see what's going on. And I like to rename my stuff, so I'm going to rename the plane, just double click on that, and I'm going to call that floor. And the solid shatter I'm going to leave like that. That's all these pieces that we just created. Alright, so now we're going to change, or we're going to add some dynamics to our objects. So I'm going to select the floor plane, so make sure this is on object mode. So select the floor, and then at the top here by bullet, on the bullet tab, I'm going to click on this button, which is create a passive rigid body object. Okay, just like that. And now if you play back, nothing will happen because we need to apply some dynamics to our shattered object as well. So I'm going to stop that, go back, and then I'm just going to click on solid shatter here in the outliner just to select all these pieces, and then click on solid shatter here in the outliner just to select all these pieces. And then very importantly, we're going to click on this icon here at the top under bullet. So this is create a set of rigid body objects from the selection. Okay, and now basically it should have dynamic properties. So if we play this back now, you will see that the sphere will just explode, and that's not really what we are going for. So I'm going to stop that and just go back to the first frame. Now, if your playback speed is not playing back at
Aha! I exploded them! Ah, yes! I did it! I exploded barrels! Ha 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 ha! Alright, I don't exactly want that to happen, but at the same time... And let's make this a little bit bigger, because the explosion is really huge. I want to have this barrel right here rolling out, and it's going to be on fire.
To this icon here at the bottom right, little gear and little running.
Hang on a second, hang on a second.
Frame. Now, if your playback speed is not playing back at real time, you just want to go into this icon here at the bottom right, little gear and little running man, and change your max playback speed to real time. Okay, just click on save, and that will just give you like a real time playback.
Okay, so
Click on save, and that will just give you like a playback speed. To real time.
sorry
Okay,
for
just
that.
save, and that will just give you like a real time playback in your timeline. Then I'm going to click on my bullet solver, and this is where we're going to set all the dynamic settings for our shattered pieces. And then here on the top, I'm going to go to solid shatter 1 set initial state tab, and this is where we're going to change.
Alright. Oh, I'm gonna have to mess with this a bit.
Change all the settings and stuff. So first of all, the collision shape type, this is currently set to box, which is wrong. I'm going to change that to.
Hang on a second. Slow down, dude.
Hole.
Hole.
And now if we play back, you'll see that it's a little bit different. It doesn't really explode anymore, but it's still falling apart right from the start. Stop that. Go back to the
That's a little bit
frame.
better.
And then where you see collision shape margin, which is currently set to 0.04, I'm going to change that to 0. Okay, so let's try that again. And now you can see the pieces are staying together. Margin, which is currently set to 0.04 frame. The collision shape type, this is currently set to box, which is wrong. I'm going to change that to hole. And now if we play back, you'll see that it's a little bit different. It doesn't really explode anymore, but it's still falling apart right from the start. So I'm going to stop that, go back to the first frame, and then where you see collision shape margin, which is currently set to 0.04, I'm going to change that to 0. Okay, so let's try that again. And now you can see the pieces are staying together and they break as they hit the floor. So I'm going to stop that, and then I'm just going to move my floor plane down a little bit so we've got some space to work with. Let's just do that. Let's just play that back again. So as you can see, it's falling and the pieces are breaking apart, and we don't want that. We only want it to break as it hits the floor. So I'm going to stop that, and then on the bullet solver again, on that solid shatter 1 set initial state tab, I'm going to go down here and we're going to add some glue to our shape. So I'm just going to enable glue shapes, and let's try to see how that works. Just going to click play. Now they're staying together, and there we go, now it's shattering. Alright, so that's looking pretty cool. So I'm going to go back to the first frame, and now we just want to add some velocity. So under this tab where you see initial velocity, this is basically your X, Y, and Z axes, and we want to do it on the Y axis, which is the middle number, and we want to put in a negative amount because we want to force it downwards. So I'm just going to change this to -40, and let's see how that works. Okay, that's alright. Let's maybe up it.
Yeah, I don't want to mess with the velocity. What I do want to mess with is the frames.
Okay, that's looking cool, and I think we need to change some more properties of the rigid attributes here. So I'm going to change the mass. I'm just going to give it a little bit of mass. And then we're going to bring the linear damping all the way down, angular damping all the way down. Friction, you can maybe up that, and then this last one, the restitution, I'm going to up that to, let's try 1. Okay, that's a little bit much. I'm going to change this restitution to 0.8. Okay, now obviously 0.8. Okay, now obviously
Let's increase the mass, see what happens. Decrease the mass. So that's not going to work. So right now it's doing it randomly. It's never the same animation over and over. Hello, how are you? I don't know how to pronounce your name. Welcome to my live stream. I'll just call you Fox. Welcome to my live stream. We were just exploding a barrel, so right now I've managed to figure out how to get the explosion effect, the shattering effect of two primary and primitive objects here. I'll turn them into barrels later, but I just don't have time. To worry about fixing that problem because they're really complicated. Now, we're still trying to figure out how to get this animated because I don't want the barrels to blow up right at the same time. I want one barrel to blow up and the other one to blow up.
you can go ahead and play around with these rigid attributes to get like different bounce effects, etc. And that's basically how easy it is to shatter a sphere in Maya 2007.
Alright, how about animating it?
What's going on, people? This is Jay. Maya, you watching the business check. Check. Here with the triangulate surface and apply.
Yeah, this guy didn't tell me much, so I need to figure out how to animate this. Hello, people. Welcome to my live stream. Anyway, let's try and figure this out. So, I want to select this one barrel. I want to keep it like that. I'll lock it right there. It doesn't anyway. Alright, there's an issue here. Let's see if I can solve it. Maybe there's something in here that I could use. Oh, there's cracked effect. That's cool. Alright. What's this do? Let's see what that does. Okay, that does something completely different. Huh. Well, everybody, I'm not a master of this stuff, but I'm trying to figure it out. Well, I think I'm going to move on to fire effects, so let's go on to explosions. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to follow this guy's video here that I'm going to be pulling up. If I can find it. Here it is. Not loading up. Let's try that again. There we go. Now I downloaded this guy's video, but because he has free download for everybody. Now I'm going to be following along this guy's video here. But first, let's set this barrel on fire.
Hi, this is Steve from Pixelbot.
Shut up. Now let's first animate this barrel. So it's going to start right there, and then, yeah, it's going to move about that far. And it's going to continue rolling about that far. Alright, let's see how that looks. Alright, that looks alright. Alright, gonna have it slow down, like, right about there. Alright, let's get that roll effect going. Alright, let's go by this frame per frame because this is looking weird. screw this. Alright, I'm gonna have to figure this out a little bit later, so I don't have a lot of time, so let's add the fire effect to that barrel, by the way. Let's see what happens. Alright, let's go into the graph editor. I like the graph editor. What the hell? Okay, that was weird. Alright, let's see if I can get the explosion effect to sort of do something. I will be posting this on YouTube when it's complete. Let's listen to something else. Lightning! Alright, I've got the shatter effect. Alright, next thing to do is to do the explosion.
Welcome to part two of our exploration into explosions using fume effects, and this week, Maya fluids. Just to recap, last week we created a particle system that we used to create an explosion from fume effects, and now we're going to use that exact same particle system to create one with Maya fluids.
Come on, man.
See, that's the exact same particle system. Look at our. Let's just take a look at our particles. You can see that's the exact same particle system we used before. So the first thing I need to do is to come up to my fluid effects menu and create a 3D container. And I'm going to come into my settings, and I'm just going to give it some more room to move around. So 20 by 20 by 20. That should...
I don't think I need an explosion that big.
to give us enough space for our explosion to start. Let's start digging through my basic setup with a Maya fluid explosion. So base resolution.
Let's listen to a different song.
You always have a choice. Choose to ride with the right people, doing things for the right reasons, and always have.
Right now is unbelievably low. If we were to start it here, it would be completely unusable. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to 100, which is a 5-to-1 ratio. And when you're dealing with Maya fluids, that's one of the most important things to remember is what your ratio is. That's going to really tell you what your fluid's going to look like. At a 5-to-1, it's still considered a pretty low resolution fluid. At about a 10-to-1 and above, we're talking something that would be acceptable for a final shot. Now here in the boundary, I'm going to again go and block off the negative Y side. That means that the fluid can interact with the bottom of this fluid container and give us nice ground interaction. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn off my boundaries in X and Y. That way, if the fluid needs to grow beyond our original size, it'll have the freedom to do that in either the width or the height. So I'm going to come down here to my contents methods, and density and velocity I'm going to need on dynamic grid. I'm also going to need my temperature and fuel on dynamic grid. In the display, we'll go ahead and use as rendered now, but there are a lot of nice settings here that help us troubleshoot our fluids if we get into trouble later. For the moment, let's just keep it as render. I'm going to change my voxel quality to better. I'm going to turn my boundary to the bounding box so I don't have to see all those little cubes. And I'm going to come down to my dynamic simulation, and I'm going to come here and add just a little bit of damp. What the damp does is makes the fluid lose energy over time. I'm going to come to my high detail solve, and I'm going to go to all grids. I'm going to
There we
up
go.
my solver quality to 40, and I'm going to
Hang on.
start with a simulation scale rate of 1.5.
Alright, we're making progress. Let's see.
Now here in the auto resize, I'll turn that on. I'm going to turn off resize and close boundaries. I don't want it to ever resize the negative Y, so I can keep the nice ground interactions. I'll turn off resize to emitter, and I'll make the maximum resolution 400. Okay, so now we're going to get into the meat of it, which is our content details. So first thing here in density, we're just going to put a little bit of dissipation in at first. And every number I change from here on out are going to be subjective numbers that once we run a simulation, we're going to come back and change things. The velocity, I'm going to add a little bit of...
Alright, let's move the emitter first. Alright, that looks like a proper explosion now. Why is it playing in real time? Alright.
What that'll do is give us nice...
Alright, velocity.
surrounding smoke interaction. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of turbulence. Now in my temperature, I'm going to go ahead and give it a little more diffusion. I want the temperature to spread all over the place. And I'll also go ahead and give it a little more turbulence. And then in my fuel, I'm going to drop that reaction speed to something very low, 0.01. So I want the reaction to happen almost instantaneously. The air-fuel ratio, this is where we're going to get something similar to the expansion we saw in Fume. And if you read the My User's Help, it says for a gasoline-style fireball, you want to enter in 15, a 15-to-1 ratio of air to fuel. In my ignition temperature, I'm going to come down and give that a very low number as well. I want the fuel to ignite almost instantaneously at any temperature. Max temperature, I'll go ahead and up that to 2. I'll make the heat released up to 2 and the light released up to 2.
Alright. So what's next?
Then the shading. I'm going to come over to my color and I'm going to turn it black. This will become helpful later when we want to see our incandescence. And the incandescence for the moment, I'm
Hang on a second.
going to leave that ramp alone.
I'm going to turn it red.
I'm going to leave my opacity ramp alone. And I'm going to come down to the shading quality. I'm going to up that to 2. And I'm going to change the render interpolator over to smooth. And basically this will just give us nice smoother gradients. Over to smooth. And basically this will just give us nice smoother gradients. And basically this will give us nicer, smoother gradients in our render. Alright, then I'm going to come down to my textures. And I'm not going to turn any of them on yet, but I'm going to come down to the coordinate method and switch it over to grid. This means that the Maya Fluid Engine is going to calculate the textures, but we don't have to preview them at this point. It's just something that we now have in our pocket if we need it. Come down to lighting. I'm going to turn on self shadow. I'm going to turn the shadow opacity up to 1. And I'm going to leave the rest of these settings as is. And just like when we did fume effects, this is my base setup. This is kind of what I will do just about every time when I start a simulation. So now we need to add our particles to the scene. So we'll click on our particles, click on our fluid, and we will say
Oh crap! I think I done something bad.
emit from object. There will obtain liquid really that should effects menu and create particle system particles. You can see that's the exact same. So let's just take a look at our particles. You can see that's the exact same particles.
Let's listen to something else. I want to listen to this.
System we used before. So the first thing I need to do is to come up to my fluid effects menu.
Why is it going so fast? At least the barrel's acting fine. Everything else isn't. Alright, so I gotta create an emitter.
Voy a intentar que el video dure entre 5 y 10 minutos. Eso voy a explicar poco, pero voy a explicar las cosas necesarias. Entonces, primero voy a explicar eso, ¿verdad? Así.
Come on, man, I don't speak I only speak English. Let's go click on this guy's video because he does a two-parter for some reason. Oh, there's part one.
Hi, this is Steve from PixelBump. Welcome to this two-part tutorial on creating explosions with fume effects and Maya fluids. As far as I've seen, nobody's ever done a tutorial showing the exact same particle emitter to create the source for the explosion. Create an explosion using the same base and then see what each one can do with it. So to get started, I'm going to use a particle emitter to create the source for the explosion. And so we're going to create an explosion using the same base and then see what each one can do with it. So to get started, I'm going to use a particle emitter to create the source for the explosion. And I'm going to make it a volume emitter. And the reason I want to use a volume emitter is just because it'll give me a little bit of a bigger area for the explosion to start, so it doesn't start from an infinitesimally small point. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up the particles right away. I know that we're going to have a very short burst of particles, so by starting it off with a high number, I already know that I should have enough to get started. And the direction, I'm going to want to go in the Y direction, so they'll burst up. Let me give them a little bit of speed randomization. And I'm going to change my volume shape here to a sphere. And now if I look at that in the orthographic view, I'm going to come up to my scale, and I'm going to give the Y-axis a 50% scale. I'll just squish it down a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring it up and create a 3D container. And I'm going to come into my setting. Couple of units, maybe 1.5. There we go. I just don't want it to be directly on the ground. I want to be able to have some interaction with the ground by forcing it out. So coming back down, away from center, let's go ahead and turn that up, and along. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring it up a couple of units, maybe 1.5. There we go. I just don't want it to be directly on the ground. I want to be able to have some interaction with the ground by forcing it out. So coming back down, away from center, let's go ahead and turn that up. And along axis, we'll turn that up. If we look closely here, we can see a little arrow pointing out from the sphere, and that's the direction our particles are going to travel. So let's see, is there anything else I want to change right now? I don't think so, but I'm going to come over to my outliner, I'm going to go to my particle shape, and instead of live forever, I'm going to want to use the random. And this is going to be a very short lifespan, maybe a quarter of a second and a quarter of a second randomization. And let's go ahead and increase our frame numbers to 200. That should give us plenty of time to really see what this explosion's going to do. And let's go ahead and hit play.
Okay, that's weird. So let's do a play blast of this. Come on, let me stop it. Thank you. this one.
Learning things. You can just start again. And you'll never look back.
Don't care. Alright, where's the play blast? Oh, I gotta clear the light real quick. Alright, this is kind of sucking for right now, but I've got something. I've forgotten how to do play blast. Damn it.
What is your passion?
Okay, so now that animation scenes with a lot going on, computer, but I have to change some of the settings.
Oh, yeah. Alright, creating a quick play blast.
Nice big burst of particles. There's zoom effects. It is on. I'm gonna go and the settings all and the I'm pretty good. And I'm just gonna give it just a little bit there. Come over to my fluid, ramp below. So now we're going to get into dynamic grid. At all attention, so we don't have, and we will say emit from object. And basically this will give us nicer, smoother gradients in our render. Alright, then I'm going to come down to my textures. And I'm not going to turn any of them on yet, but I'm going to pocket if we need it. Emitter settings. So the Omni emitter is just fine. Our emit from object as is. And just like when we did Fume Effects, this is my base setup. This is kind of what I will do just about every time when I start a simulation.
Come on. I hate the commercials.
Another time, okay? When it's the right time.
It's never the right time.
This is taking forever. Alright, let's see what it is. It's just complete darkness! Yay! Alright, I don't think I need 2 emitters, I just need 1. No, stop! Alright, let's go to Legacy Viewer. Let's add another light. Alright, let's finish this.
Hi, really fast. Let's just read as is. Our pocket. If we need it. Come down to lighting, and I'm going to turn on self shadow. I'm going to turn the shadow opacity up to 1.
Shit, I keep doing that. Alright, let's add some textures to some of these. Nope. Okay, that's a barrel. Alright. Let's take out the shadow effects set on these. I'm going to... do this. Alright. It doesn't matter. Before I go on with any more of that stuff, I'm going to add some fire to this. There we go.
And I'm going to leave the rest of these settings as is. And just like when we did fume effects, this is my base setup. This is kind of what I will do just about every time when I start a simulation. So now we need to...
I need to add in a particle.
Add our particles to the scene. So we'll click on our particles, click on our fluid, and we will say emit from object. Now, if we do just a setup, it's just something that we now have in our pocket if we need it. Come down to lighting, and I'm going to turn on self-shadow. I'm going to turn the shadow. And I'm going to leave the rest of these settings as is. And just like when we did fume effects, this is my base setup. This is kind of what I will do just about every time when I start a simulation. So now we need to add our particles to the scene. So we'll click on our particles, click on our fluid, and we will say emit from object. Now, if we look under our particles, we have a fluid emitter. And let's take a look at those emitter settings. So the omni emitter is just fine. Our rate is okay. Let's come down, make sure that we have everything added, and let's just reduce that fluid drop off. We don't want a soft gradient.
And, okay. I am sucking right now at this.
Drop off as the fluid is emitted.
Kind of confused because my brain is kind of tired.
Since we're going to have our particles moving through the fluid volume, I'm going to go ahead and turn on motion stream. Then I'll come down here to my fluid. My fluid emissions turbulence. I'll add just a little bit of turbulence to that. And I think we're going to be pretty good. Let's go ahead and just see what we've got based on this. Now, unlike with the fume effects fluids, we don't have a separate
I'm gonna hide these real quick so I can
button to run.
see what
we
I'm
can
doing.
actually do is just run the play button. And let me go ahead and switch over to our shaded view. And let's go ahead and hide our particles for a moment.
Yeah, I'm gonna delete all history real quick. Alright, we got an explosion going on right there, but we don't have the right color. Alright, so let's try and fix the color. Now that looks really cool. That looks like a proper explosion. Now it's gonna be now the only thing I gotta really do is I gotta fix the texture of this, so it's gonna be really difficult.
Let me go ahead and switch over to our shading.
Let's see. My computer's having a really hard time trying to render this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep doing this.
And let's go ahead and hide our particles for a moment. Alright, so we have an explosion, but it's moving up really fast. A lot faster than I'd like it to. So I'm going to come over to my fluid, I'm going to get into the content details, I'm going to come down to the temperature, and I'm going to reduce the buoyancy there, and in the density, I'll reduce the buoyancy there. And let's just go ahead and half both of those. So that way it doesn't blow up.
Alright, so it's content details.
Like a little mushroom.
I think my buoyancy is just fine. Alright, that's where I want it so I can see the explosion. Okay, that's where... That's pretty cool.
Cloud. We'd like it to rise a little slower. So let's go back and we'll hit play again to the next simulation. Alright, so that's not bad, but that's still moving up a little faster than I'd like. So let's speed that, I think. And I'm going to set that back down to normal. Then I'm going to come down to my turbulence. And again, on frame 5, back down. And by frame 10, I'm going to... drop it back down 0.2. Again, we're just trying to break up a lot of that roundy, fluidy shape. So let's take a look at what we got now. That is definitely a more interesting shape, but it's a little obviously the dark red and my incandescent, a lot more opacity towards the edges.
Saving that. Nah, I think my Maya has crashed. Definitely has crashed. There we go. I think I'm nearly done with this. I just gotta fix it a bit more.
To our fluid shape. As far as the base explosion goes, we're looking pretty good. So let's talk a little bit about what we can do to bring this guy up. So we'll come over to our fluid shape, and we're going to come down to our shading, and we're going to start playing with some of these values. Now, here we see we have a really nice fall off in the smoke. Now, I like that, but if you want it to be denser, you want to come up here to your opacity and kind of give it a mountainous shape. Just a really hard edge here. You can see that's really bringing in a lot more opacity towards the edges. I personally think this is a little more interesting, a little more fun, so I'm going to leave it there. But what I might actually do come in and eat away just a little bit there, just so it has a little less density and doesn't end up looking quite as thick. Next thing I want to do is come down to my incandescent ramp, and we're going to start playing with our ramp a little bit. I'm going to come in, give it a nice bright white. As its start color, I'm going to take this red, push it back, bring in more of these oranges and yellows, and really kind of play with, again, giving it a lot more color variation, just so it has a little more interest in it. Get rid of that guy. There, he's a little too
There we go.
bright. There we go. I'm going to bring in my black level here, so there's a much sharper fall off.
We're getting a pretty good looking explosion so far. It looks like a pretty large one.
Between the dark red and the black, and that's going to give us all this nice black charring around the edge of the explosion. So that's starting to look pretty good. So what we can do is let's first come back and let's up our resolution, and let's come down. We'll just do 72 frames here. And I'm going to come ahead and create a new cache. I'm going to create a fluid cache so that it's writing every frame to the disk now. So that way, if I come back and I want to change the look a little more, I don't have to spend the time hitting play and waiting for the next simulation. So I'm going to create new cache and let it run through the 72 frames, or until I feel that we have enough that we can work with. Okay, so our simulation has cached, and we're going to see a huge degradation in our performance right now, because there's a lot of voxels in here that are being calculated. But the resolution is looking really good to me. Now, let's go ahead and do a play blast, just to see how the animation...
I'm not doing a play blast, man. You can do it later.
And overall, this is looking really good. The biggest problem I have right now is that it's burning white hot for far too long. So it's for adjustments yellow. That's looking really nice. A lot of nice detail there. It's maybe going to black a little faster than I'd like, so I'm going to come in here. I'm going to stretch this out just a bit. There we go. So now when I come back, I should get a little more time with the oranges and yellows. In fact, what would happen, and choose to use space-time. This is just a fractal pattern that I think is really attractive. New expression, mostly with mental ray. Over here. And I think that...
Alright, I think I am pretty much done. The only thing left to do is probably just to render this. So let's go ahead and render this bad boy. Because this is as good as I think I'm going to get it for right now until I figure out something else, which I'm honestly kind of tired of doing this, and I honestly just want to do something else right now. So let's go ahead and render this bad boy up as soon as I remember how. Unless this guy knows out. I'm gonna check his video again real quick.
Hi, this is Steve from Pixel Play Maybe, and read on a consider. I think it looks great. I'm gonna go ahead.
I broke the internet. Yay! So yeah, I'm gonna call the live stream right now, but the render, you guys don't probably want to see the rendering process, so I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.